Ipswich Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. A single from only £1.20, a return from only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talk in Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to this, the platform that follows the national embarrassment, otherwise known as Ipswich Town Football Club. Talking Town, of course, the platform for fans, by fans, and we've got a lot of discussions to do because you've got, the embarrassment that I say from last night. We've got possible, looking ever increasingly likely, new managerial appointment in a gentleman from Manchester United, which is sure to get the Town fan base divided, split, and talking about the next chapter in this fantastic club's lifetime. Very quickly, though, what I would say is it's a live show, so you're more than welcome to have your say on the platform. There'll be a link that will be put into the chat. If at any point you can't find that link and you want to come on the show, just say link and I'll put it in the chat. So keep your eyes on that chat. It will start with StreamYard. Whatever it is. Click it. You just need a microphone, no webcam. Although if you do have a webcam, of course, people love to see you when you're giving your points. And don't be afraid to put your colours to the mast. But it's open to everybody. If not, you certainly do have the live chat, which many of you are taking advantage of. So let us know what you think and you feel as we go through the show. For those that perhaps are more regular viewers, you'll know what's coming next. A huge thank you to all of our TT Fifth Stand members. These are the guys and girls that support the platform via a monthly contribution. You are the people that make us what we are, which is a fan platform which is hopefully getting stronger and getting louder and getting more noticeable, and a platform that can't be ignored, that has the priorities of the fans at heart, and we will speak for you. Right, let's, in a bit of a change to the lineup, I've already made a double substitution. Both Coxey and Mike Brown have been rotated out. I've taken the Mitchell brothers away from the starting lineup. So I'm going to rest them for a big game next week. So coming up, here he is. He went last night. He got in at 5:30 in the morning. God, that's a true fan, isn't it? Richard Moss, welcome here. I've got my hat back to front. Hang on, just a moment.
What the?
Just a moment. There you go. Nobody wants a label sticking out, do they? Let's be honest. No one wants a label sticking out. Richard Moss, you went last night, as did Matt Stannard. And he says even as the cafe was closed and the pub only served crisps.
Yeah, I went. They had a place called the Soccer Bar next to the ground, and I went in there, and it was like not a lot of people in there. They had a big pool table, and the guy behind the bar. I said, "Do you do food?" We only do crisps.
Was it like a pub out of the old League of Gentlemen?
Yeah, it was just like so. We wandered
pub
around
for local people.
Meat and potato pies in the ground. Went down a treat.
Did they?
Oh. Yeah, lovely.
Fair enough. Well, it was a national embarrassment. Do you want to talk about it now, or do you want to get the managerial chatter on the way, and we'll get to Barrow if we ever get time?
Go with whatever you want, mate. But it was a good trip. I had a really good trip down there and back. It was just spoilt by the 90 minutes in between.
Well, as most things with Ipswich Town normally are, we've got Klaus says Wikipedia says McKenna is the new manager of Town. It's looking ever increasingly likely. Klaus, we've got Robert Grimsby. If Ryan wins, he gets a snake bite in a Suffolk derby. Felix made more changes than Paul Cook in his whole spell at Town. Oscar, I really hope I'm wrong, but I have a really bad feeling about this one. The rumours are correct. Colin Plum.
Who's in the door then?
Anthony Steele, Ipswich linked with McKenna. Hopefully, he'll be able to hypnotise the players into giving a damn. Scott Maplethorpe, a couple of big United fans at work reckon McKenna's the next big thing. They're gutted to see him leave. Right, let's bring in the Tux straight away. Get it underway. Welcome in, Tux.
Hello,
let's
mate,
let's get kicking straight in because McKenna, Man United's coach, believed to be about to sign on as Ipswich Town's manager, bringing with him Martin Pert as his assistant. What are our thoughts and feelings? Because the fan base is split, it seems. What are we feeling about this one?
Yeah, I feel I've got a couple of splinters in my arse as well because it's very much a case of when I first literally saw it, I was very much on the fence, and it was kind of the fact that, you know, is he going to be the right man to take this group of players forward? Not next season or the season after. This group of players at the moment, and I don't know whether, you know, it sort of says now that we are essentially planning for the future. We're not planning for this season, because I think if you're planning for this season, 9 points out of the playoffs and trying to get, you know, claw your way back a little bit, the only person for me that could have done that was Warnock. So if you can't get him, maybe this is the next best thing. I don't know. But I think, you know, there's that element of it. But if he comes in, you know, McKenna obviously coming for United, you'd think, you know, good stock, but I don't know. I'd like to think it end up being a good appointment, but he's got to have the right coaches around him. It doesn't matter who comes in; you've got to have that right coaches around him. And you know, I'm trying to look at what his backroom staff is at the moment, and hopefully they're the ones that he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. Crunch. What we do know about the gentleman is that he was, you know, labelled the next Brendan Rodgers. In fact, Brendan Rodgers wanted him to go to Anfield with him, and McKenna opted to stay at Tottenham. He's been at Tottenham. He's been at Man United. Solskjaer rated him. Jose Mourinho rated him.
Forest as well with their foundation.
Yeah.
If you go on YouTube, I don't know if you've watched it, man. I did send it to you. The Coach's Voice. There's a real good bit with him. Yeah, it's really good and interesting. And listen, it is a left field appointment. I think we all know that. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay,
I think it is.
I hadn't heard of him until today. That's how left field it is for me. And you know, reading up about him, obviously, you know, he's got a good sort of coaching record. But I think what sort of strikes me a little bit is that someone that's going to come into this club just sort of cutting their teeth as a first team manager, I just think this club is too big for that. It's got so much pressure. You have to essentially run this club if you are going to be the manager of this club. You can't be.
To Terry Butcher last night, Tux.
Yeah.
Said we're no longer a big club. We're a small club.
Yeah, so, but we're a big club because of the fan base. This loyal following that follows us, follows this club, makes us a big club. We're not history, yes, great, but you know, we haven't done anything in the last 20 years. So this fan base is stuck loyal with this current crop, the previous crop, the last 20 years. Fans have been so loyal, and with that comes pressure. And you know, I don't care what anyone says. Paul Cook, Mark Ashton. You know, if you're going to have a go at the fans, do it. But we're going to have our opinion. We pay good money to watch this club underperform.
Known as a technically excellent coach, one of the players who worked under him said he was the very best, one of the best I've ever had. Very honest with me and made sure I maximised every single day. Crunch, this is an appointment I sort of have indicated it would be the direction the football club goes in. It's more the head coach route. It's an up and coming coach, a hungry coach, a player known for developing, as you've just heard there. You know, an excellent young coach who's more used to developing players and getting the best out of them. And that obviously goes with the ethos of player trading, which is what you believe the football club now are dealing with. Bring players in at low prices, sell at big prices. And the chap coming with him, Martin Pert, known for his tactical ability, known for setting up a team, known for all of the, you know, the analytical side of everything that you need in modern football. So as a team, this is about as modern and 21st century as Ipswich Town have ever going to be or have ever had at this point.
This guy's got to come in and he's got to gain the respect, Martin, of the players really quickly. Now, last night when I'm hearing from certain players after the game, and I'm not going to name them, it doesn't hurt enough people in that dressing room. I'll tell you what, that really worries me because we've signed all these players on big wages, you know, and they ain't performing. And Terry Butcher said to me, they think they're better than what they are, Martin. And this is a young coach. It could go two ways, you know. He's got to come in. They might think, who's this guy, you know? I don't give a toss because I think there's people we see them. Everyone on the chat, Mark, you watched them play there last night, and it looked as though we couldn't give a fuck. Because they must have known, Mark, that a new manager, wherever he was last night, he could be fucking on Mars. He was going to be watching them last night. And surely they should have been putting in a performance and saying, listen, I want to be part of whoever the new manager's regime is moving forward.
Well, it wasn't just last night, though, was it? I mean, you look at the performance at Charlton, there would have been a new manager watching that. So, I just don't understand it. They're new players. It's not like they've been here for 4 years and stagnated. Like they've literally just come through the door. And if they're given the impression that they don't care, then what does that show? I mean, it doesn't show anything for a new manager. But I mean, you can't. What can you do in January? We can't do anything. You can bring a couple of players in, maybe get rid of a couple, but these players are on good contracts now. So this is the problem that we've got. And I just feel like we've just sort of lurched from like one sort of like plan to something else now, and I just don't. It feels very disjointed.
I don't know. I do feel, and there's going to be some people joining us. I can see some people waiting. Don't worry, I know you're there. I'm going to bring you in. You can have your say on your football team. If you do want to join the party, you've got the live chat there, which I'll try and get to. Pierce, in case you're watching. But if I don't, I'll try and put as many as I can on the screen. Of course, all you super chats are read out. But I do think you say about lurching from one plan to another. This feels to me a bit more in tune with the new plan at the football club.
We've got to get on board with it, Martin. If it's a new plan, it's going to take time. It ain't going to be ripped up after 4 months. It can't be.
You have to obviously have results. But everybody has KPIs. Everybody, no matter what job you do, from working on Mars to being a football manager to whatever, you've got KPIs. Paul Cook wasn't hitting those KPIs. Somebody said to me this morning, "It's what happened when you sack Paul Cook. You sack a manager."
I'll talk to you later about Paul Cook, and it weren't just football matters about him. I'll tell you that later.
Regardless of what it is,
stuff about him.
Couldn't give a flying, UFO. The point is, he was never good enough at this football club in the sense of he never got the results he should have got. But this is about progressing players. And you say players won't, players have got to buy into it and players have got to, not be too strong for him. But you can get a player's trust many different ways in football. And one of them is putting them in positions that they know make them look good, make them succeed.
What was that formation that we played last night?
Exactly.
Well, I was just literally about to say, right? You look at someone like Scott Fraser. We've had two managers now that have looked at him and said, "Oh yeah, go play on the left wing." This was the number 10, the best number 10 in the league last year.
Apparently so.
So if Dale McKenna then plays him left wing, look, if I can see that, you two can see that. How can a football manager not see that? I'm sorry.
But equally, it goes to the 4-2-2-2 that they said that we were playing at various different times. Sonny Aluko looked more central than I ever want to see Sonny Aluko look centrally again. But this is what I'm talking about. You can get their buy-in by simply putting them in a position and setting a team up, because footballers aren't stupid people. Contrary to the popular belief about footballers, they're not stupid. They've played the game since they could walk. They've had to fight off many thousands of different people to get in the spot they're in. They know when a coach is talking bullshit. They know when a coach is bluffing. They know when the game plan's not good, when the plan won't work, when the food's not right. And all those different things. This is a guy coming from Man United, the best of the best. Mourinho liked him. Ole Gunnar liked him. Don't hold that against him.
So he must have something,
Ralph Rangnick wants him to stay.
Yeah.
You don't go through that many different high-class managers without one of them spotting that you're a bluffer and you're Billy bullshitting David Brent style. Like, I'm really quite excited because he could do it. You haven't got to be a Warnock type. I called for that last night. But you haven't got to be that type to get players' respect and trust. So you not necessarily think, oh, he's a young coach, let's write him off. He's not going to get this player. He's got this group of players under his guys. But said that it is a hard task, Ben Adams, and he has got to stand up and be a counted man. What do you make of it all?
I think it's a really hard task, but do you know what? There's something about this I feel really, really good about. Something about this works. I don't quite know what it is yet. Even when Paul Cook was signed, I looked at where he come from, I looked at who he was, and I thought, no, it just doesn't feel right, despite the pedigree. And we've had every single manager who gets a job realistically in football right now has pedigree. That's why they get a job. And we've had every kind of manager imaginable. We've had world-class players who have got teams promoted. We've had safe hands. We've had experienced hands. We've had young up-and-coming managers who have got teams promoted. We've had every iteration of manager it's possible to employ, bar a foreign one. And I think this one, I'm 100% behind it, because you're quite right, it seems a very 50-50 split on whether people support this or not. Well, every other manager who was touted before today was also a 50-50 split. In fact, I would argue that there was no manager out there that we were all going, that one, get him, we've got to get him to the club. There wasn't a man out there for that. So in the absence of someone who's obvious, go for something that's not. It might be an absolute stroke of genius. We don't know yet. But do you know what? We've gone for sure things before, and none of them have worked. Yeah. So try something different.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Mark, a lot of yeses from you there. You obviously build on what Ben's.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think it's like you said earlier. It's a very left field appointment. No one saw this one coming. But I don't know. I suppose it just worries me a little bit for this season. Like if this appointment came at the end of the season, whoever we had just got in now, if it came to the end of the season and said, look, this is a guy who's going to change our future, take us forward, fine. But I'm looking at it from a point of view where I still think we could get something out of this season. We're 9 points off the playoffs. I don't know whether this guy has enough respect or commands that respect for this current crop of players.
Paul Cook came in with every single player at this club wanting to play for him. Did he get the respect that he would demanded?
Not
now I know that, no. And he didn't. So that doesn't even come into it. As far as I hear what you're saying, and you're actually quite correct in a way. But there is no manager on earth really now that commands respect. Because if there was, Paul Cook should have got it because they're always ex-players. Didn't work, failed. So go for something completely different.
Yeah, good point. I mean, Lambert, Hurst, you could go through the list, couldn't you, really, to be honest, and say managers that have come in.
What actually does demand respect in the modern game from players? Because it ain't pedigree, it ain't experience. I don't really know what it is. I think damn good coaching has a massive part to play in whether a team does well, rather than, I would say, man management skills. Now, I was texting Crunch earlier. I watched his interview. He doesn't come across as particularly charismatic. But do you know what? We've had charismatic managers before. Cook was all. Everyone loves Cook. He's so animated. Fantastic. McCarthy had all the quips. Hurst had all the fire. Roy Keane had all the visceral reaction. Everything. They've all failed. So give me something that's calm, consistent, well coached, well liked, untested. Tested doesn't work. Untested might. I mean, I think we're at a stage where there are no guarantees anymore. And since there are no guarantees, I actually think that gives us a massive amount of room to play with. Because, Jesus Christ, any one of those other, Appletons, the Terrys and Lampards and all this rubbish, it doesn't matter because it's not a prerequisite to say they're going to come here and do well. The only other thing I would have probably liked to have seen would be a foreign coach, maybe, just because we haven't tried it. But this is probably the only other iteration of coach we've never tried, which is unbelievable amount. He's worked under unbelievable people. He's wanted by unbelievable people at the very top of their career and their game. I'm ready for a bit of the unknown because the known hasn't worked in 15 years. If that doesn't sound too cynical, perhaps.
Terry Noonan. That's one way of looking at it, and then the other way is a bit like Terry. I don't want to mention the R word, but this is such a poor appointment. I'm worried now. It's one that's polarizing the fan base, Crunch.
Who wouldn't have worried you?
Any appointment's a risk, isn't it, Ben? It doesn't matter who it is,
Who's the person out there that would have said, and is now Ipswich town manager, where we all think, oh, thank God, fantastic, we made the right decision. Who was it? Because obviously nothing in the past week, but apart from people arguing names backwards and forwards. Yeah. So if this is a risk, is it any less of a risk than anyone else? Warnock, he's been in the game 600 years. He was in the game when we were playing this in the Middle Ages. He's got 13 promotions. Most people didn't want him. Lampard, okay, you can say he's got pedigree, he's got contacts and everything, and he's young and upcoming, but half the people didn't want him. So before people criticise McKenna, who's the manager that's out there that everyone was saying, damn, we missed out on him? Because from what I read, we were fishing about in a barrel of shit.
I mean, one way of looking at it. Stay right there. Better bring Felix in. Felix, what do you make of it?
Hello. I'm thinking of it in two minds. Like the one mind is new, he's upcoming, he's got backings of Mourinho, everyone else that's there, I can't be asked to mention them. But there's also the side of he's new. That's the key word. He's new. I don't want to sort of be the negative person and everything, but I do not trust a man that this is his first proper job without anyone with him, like the Jose's or Ralph Ragnick's. He's going straight into a place where teams are low on confidence. They think they're better for themselves, and you've got a game on Sunderland on Saturday. I don't think I need to say much more to that.
Paul Cook came in the exact same position last year. Paul Cook came in with a team, who absolutely destroyed. He came in with massive pedigree and experience. Didn't work for him. So how is it any different? How's it any different?
It's. I think it actually makes it worse for him. The fact that he's new, I don't know. I don't think he'll know how to deal with it. I think he might crumble under the pressure, or I might be wrong and he might become incredible and we do a mastermind. But I never really know.
I agree to a certain extent. I think you're going to get a lot of pressure. He's going to get if it is him, he's going to get a lot of pressure on him already. And this isn't obviously his team, so he's going to be coming in a little bit like Cook last year, be judged on his results, whether they're good or bad.
Yeah.
But that's what my sort of concern with it all is as well. But in response to your sort of point about whether he can deal with it, I think he's obviously working at a club where they're the biggest club in the world. They could deal with that pressure. The only thing I would say is he's not the man. He's not the first team manager. His head isn't on the chopping board. So that's the other sort of side of it. Whereas obviously here, he's responsible. He's the main man. He's got people around him, but he's the one who makes decisions at the end of the day.
I still think that we all need to realise where we are. We're a third tier team. We're 12th in the league.
Yeah.
We've not got that big club. Like you said, Tux, we got big support. Yeah, I get that. But other than that, like you said, we've done nothing for fucking 20 years. So we've tried everything else. Like you said, Ben, who knows if it works, it does. Look, we have to try.
Yeah.
All we have to do is all get behind it.
I agree. I totally agree with that, Crunch, 100%.
Away Day Biz obviously done some reading himself, and he's pulled this from somewhere. Interesting to look at it. McKenna is described as dry in school, teacherly in his delivery, while some players have privately wondered how he'd risen to such a position of power under the Norwegian. Mark, you're laughing. Why is that smile across your face?
Well, it depends who you ask, don't it? I mean, you could ask Portsmouth about, what was Paul Cook like? They'll be like, yeah, he was really great. And then you could ask Wigan and they'll be like, yeah, shit. So, it depends where you go. I think it's all of these. It does just depend who you ask, really. But I think he's been at Man United for a reason, obviously. Not just under one manager, but two. So, if the new manager wants to keep him as well, then that is obviously saying something. But yeah, it's different. You're a coach there, but what are you like as a first team manager? So it's it sort of weighs itself up, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a good first sort of option because I think it's a great challenge to manage a team like Ipswich in its position. I think now if we're going to confirm it, it's too late because I think we're going to have John McGreal now for Sunderland, which is a bit of a pain. But if we do announce it before Sunderland, I do hope that he comes in, he watches the game on Saturday, and he takes that sort of little detail of what we can do to make it everything a little bit better. Like the sharpness is better, attackively we're better. And then we go to Gillingham on, I think it's the Sunday or Boxing Day, what have you. And we play, hopefully, like a team that know how to play football. But It all really can come and go. Yep.
Felix, another great appearance from yourself. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Hope to hopefully speak to you again soon. Second appearance of Felix was on last night's show.
Do you think that I think with this manager, you kind of have to put. one thing I think with Ipswich have got it really right, and what I'm really loving, aside from things like last night and the obvious season we're having, is the management. You know, the owner and the management structure. I like the long-term project of what that looks like. So you kind of, the new manager that comes in, you kind of has to reflect the faith that you have in the owners and Mike Ashton. Now, we've all been very complimentary, and I would say those compliments have been very much justified. So I think you have to kind of trust the owners in that the interview process, they're not going to want to get this wrong. There are I don't know how much it's true that Paul Cook was never any of their first choice last season, but I don't think we'll ever know the answer unless one of you do. But I think you have to trust them and their process of, is this the right guy? We're under pressure. Mike Ashton knows what it means. He knows the league. The owners want success desperately. You kind of have to put the faith in them, because if you don't put the faith in them, it kind of says what we feel as fans about the owners. And I think my faith in them has been entirely justified through the process. Even though I think the management has been wrong for a long time, they did back him. And there's something to be said for that. So you kind of have to trust the owners as well, I think.
Yeah, Tim Molden. We've got, hold on, Peel Watted Manning. He's had 30 professional games as a manager. He's coached world-class players at a top standard for 3+ years. Trust his talent. Paul Bewley. When was the last time we had a manager that was poached by a bigger team? Ian Davis. This could be the gentleman. Ian Davis. Whoever the manager is, he's got a big job on. We need a couple of players. Some Cook signings were awful. Ben Brader. Really hope this works for ITFC. I've supported you all my life, and it's been so frustrating over the last few years. I hear you, Ben. I think we all do on this panel tonight. Probably since we got rid of McCarthy, if I'm honest, it's been downhill. Herfy99, it didn't see this coming. Perhaps this is a curveball our club needs. The more I look at it, the pedigree, the more I like. Not sure this should be installed for Saturday. Lewis said, guys, been working with Rashford for Ronaldo and Sancho. Sure, he can fuck off, Crunch.
God,
sure
from Ronaldo to Jackson.
Sure, he can handle working with Norman, Evans, Penny, and Burgess, and the pressure. Even if he hasn't been the man previously. Fuck about, what a list. What a list. Although let's not get away from the fact that James Norwood had his picture taken last night with you, Crunch, and then had his worst game I've seen him play in about six months to a year.
Hang on.
6 months to a year. He's not played, is he?
You'd have struggled if you had Ronaldo up front with the fucking balls he got. Fucking come on.
Wow. Paul Whitman plays his tools. Ashton could have been paid safe and brought in a name, probably, but he has to be fair, put his own head in the block with this acquisition. We have got Ipswich Ben, the resident young Pep Guardiola. Surely you're going to be all over this signing, Ben. You're going to love it.
Mate, I'm quite excited with it. I reckon we'll do well. Look, he's not going to be at Man United for 4+ years for nothing if he's not a good coach. He would have been out the door.
Don't know. What are you going to say? Solskjaer was there for a couple of years.
He's a fucking PE teacher, mate. He can't coach as a bloody...
No. We've got a PE teacher. We don't need another one. Let's be honest. But no, come on. Honestly, what excites you about this chat? Is it the fact we've got a nucleus of young talent that needs to be coached? Because what is our issues at the football club? Is it ability that needs to be coached and brought out? Is it tactical? I
think it's a bit of both. Like, tactically, you saw last night, we were shite. We were shit last night. Bloody 4-2-2, whatever it was. What the fucking hell is going on there?
We haven't got the players for the position that we're looking to play at the moment. I don't think we haven't got. You look at that midfield last night. The wingers, so to speak, were too narrow. Fraser's not a winger, and then you've got in the middle. You had Tom Carroll and Idris El Mazouni. Both of them are not central midfielders. Idris El Mazouni is a number 10 at best. Can't defend.
Fits in well.
Yeah. So right across that midfield was completely unbalanced.
I agree
with the positions because they're completely out of position. Yes, you can. We've seen so many times at this club where we shoehorn players into positions. It does not work.
Yeah,
it does not work.
Lewis says, wife want to watch a Christmas film tonight. So far, she's not impressed. Hang on, guys. Hang on. I've just got to go on the old solo. Mrs. Robertson. Hang on.
Kiddo.
Is this not Christmassy enough for you, Mrs. Robertson? You've got the Christmas scene. You've got me and an £8 Santa gig. Look, love, all right? Don't worry about Home Alone. This is where it's at, all right? We're back. Carry on, Ben. There you go. I've just saved that man's marriage.
Jeez, God.
I think you
is
spoilt
his-
it now. I think you spoilt that one.
Yeah. What would his formation be? Like, do we know? Would it be a 4-2-3-1? Would it be a 3-5-2?
No one knows.
No one knows.
Well, for me, he's got to come in and play the formation that suits the players, really.
Yeah.
So,
Which is
well, at the moment, if I'm actually being honest, it probably is like a 3 at the back, or 5 at the back, whatever you want to call it. Play Marauding kind of wing backs. KVY is not a right back; he's a right wing back.
Who's your wing back?
KVY on the right, and then
He's
obviously
done.
when
He's
Coulson,
done what I've seen with him.
but he's played it right back, hasn't he?
if you
For me,
give
he's
him
not
a
a
run
right
of
back.
games, you'll see the best of him.
Yeah.
Busted,
But
flushed,
he's
Ben Moore.
certainly not as
Busted,
good as he
flushed.
was. But you've got to look at the formation that we've got to play as for the players that we've got. So I'll be playing. You got to stop the goals as well. You've got to stop these leaking goals, and the only way to do that is have 3 or 5 at the back, and then maybe have 2 up top or something like that. But for me, if you're looking at the strikers that start up top, it's got to probably be Bonner and Norwood. I don't think Piggott and Bonner are 2 together, if I'm honest. But there's obviously got to be changes in January. But you've got to play the formation as he comes in and sees it. He's got to play the way these players need to play. There's no point changing too much at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know why people, Martin, keep making excuses for Kane Vincent-Young. He's had enough chances this season. He's been absolutely fucking wonderful.
Yeah.
He's wonderful.
But who are you going to play? If you play 5 at the back, if you play your right wing back, what would you rather play Donessian as
I'll play Wes Burns if he's fit as wing back.
Well, yeah. Good
I
point.
don't know who I'll play left side touch because Matt Penny is another one.
Oh, he was fucking awful last night.
Yeah. Matt Penny. Yeah. Ship him out in January.
I think a lot of people know I'm not a Bailey Clements fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I think at the moment I'd rather have Bailey.
Clements over Penny.
Yeah.
All day of the week.
I would now.
I think
was he really that bad? I've read all over social.
He was
I was going to watch it, but I had a bath and I fell asleep in it. And by the sounds of it, I had the best night of all with you.
Yeah. Shocking.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking.
Was it your birthday, Ben?
Hey?
Was it your birthday?
Every day's my birthday.
Happy birthday. It's the only time you have a bath. Well, so I have a bath anyway. I was going to say it was about McKenna. Surely this is going to be where hopefully the ability of him comes in. He's going to be flexible. He's going to look at the squad and work out. And this is where I've almost always said why a new manager is key. Because he's going to come in and look at the squad and not have any preconceived ideas about certain players he may have brought in for a position he thought they could play, or pigeonholed a player into thinking he can or can't do something. He's going to watch him train, going to put him through the paces, going to watch him in under-23 games, watch him in proper games.
I'm pretty sure tonight he'll be sitting there watching games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Unless he's watching us. He might be watching us, maybe.
But he should be, if he knows what's good for him. But you're going to get a flexible approach, I hope. Formations that change, and if Pert is anything to go by, analytical, almost football manager type. Which maybe that's why it's taken so long, Crunch, to announce this appointment. Maybe someone at Playford Rose on the old FM doing some experiments. How well does it go with Neil Harris? How well does it go with Neil Warnock? How well does it go with McKenna?
Wow, look at that!
Run 100 times. Oh wow, hello.
Well,
I'm right at the top. Hang on, I've got to scroll down 50 comments. Sam Maybury, $66, £50. Hats off to Governor. There's fantastic content all year. Happy holidays. Thank you very much, Sam. We appreciate you. Thank you ever so much. Wow, blown away by that one. Carl Brooks. One thing McKenna has to do is get us to work so much harder off the ball, because off it we are arguably the worst side I've seen.
Great point.
Yeah. But the way we've been set up all year, Crunch, has just been naive and ill-disciplined, and that's something that you hear a lot of. Pert and McKenna have a lot about them. They will get you disciplined and get you more tactically astute.
You think watching that first half there last night, that's probably got to be touched one of the worst halves of football. We've had a lot over the years, but that was absolutely dreadful.
I think it's got to be up there with the worst I've ever seen. I think it is.
Even worse than the 7-1 against, was it Portsmouth, or 7-0?
Peterborough.
Even worse than that.
7-1.
We did have 9 men that day, Ben, so that's sort of...
true.
But we thought Lincoln was bad touch, that was on the tally. But last night, for fuck's sake, the first half, the thing that annoyed me was, I think it was 20 minutes, we hardly got in their half. Then we got a corner, And instead of putting it in the box, what did we do? We played it short and then we went backwards.
Well, the thing that what annoyed me, or it shocked me actually, was the fact it didn't feel like a giant killing. It felt like just Barrow was just playing football, like their normal kind of League Two standard football. Nothing, particularly brilliant or anything like that. It's just they just kept it on the floor and started playing. That was it. It wasn't anything else.
Oh, hello, soldier. Hang on. Let me just go to my Twitter. Let me go to my Twitter machine.
Ipswich.
Let me go to my Twitter machine. Yes, he is. Welcome to ITFC. Here we go. I will get the statement on the screen. Give me a memento.
There he is, Kieran.
One memento.
SS Pistoliga has left the port.
Again. It went back for... We have also got a Caden Jackson statement.
He looks like a mixture of Gary Neville and
I thought he looked like Darren Fletcher.
He looks like Darren Fletcher, mate.
Darren Fletcher and Phil Neville had a love child.
Right then, we have got Martin Pert arrives as assistant manager. Kieran McKenna is the new manager of Ipswich Town Football Club, the Northern Irishman who joins Man Utd, where he was a first-team coach on a 3.5-year deal up on the road and becomes the 19th manager of the club's history. Kieran, 35, was a younger like me, worked under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the Red Devils, helping the team to consecutive third and second place finishes in the Premier League in 1920 and 2021, respectively. He stayed at Old Trafford following the arrival of Ralph Rangnick as a key member of the new interim manager's backroom staff. He started coaching in 2009, immediately upon retiring from playing before leaving for United, where prior to being named first-team assistant manager by Jose Mourinho, the special one, he was in charge of them. Doesn't say that, I just added that in. He was in charge of the under-18s. Aside, he guided the Northern Premier Division title in just his second season. Born in London, but raised in County oh fuck, I can't say that name, sorry. Joining Kieran's Town as manager is Martin Pert. Prior to joining United, Martin had worked at clubs in the Premier League and Championship, including Watford. We're finally being on Watford. They listened. Where we achieved promotion to the top flight in the 05-06 season, a 4-year spell as assistant manager, MLS side Vancouver Whitecaps, there's that American link, followed before he completed the switch to Old Trafford in October 2019. Kieran and Martin arrived at town ready for a new challenge and will take the reins of the Blues first team on Monday. I would like to thank Ashton and the owners for putting their faith in me and Martin to take the club forward, Kieran told the club website. Leaving a club like Man United was obviously a difficult decision, but I strongly believe in the opportunity to build something here. It feels like the right time, project and club to make my first step into first team management. For now, the focus for the team has to be on a huge game on Saturday. After that, I cannot wait to meet everyone and get to work. There's a microphone waiting for you here, Kieran. I'm delighted to officially welcome Kieran and Martin to the club, added Mark Ashton in probably his shortest statement to date. There we go. He goes on a little bit more. He says he comes to the club with pedigree within the game and with exciting plans about how he's going to take the team forward. When we met, there was a clear meeting of minds in terms of how we execute the vision for this football club. I'd like to reiterate my thanks to McGrill, Dyer and Gil Martin and Carl Petney for stepping up to take off first team duties during the interim period. And he'd like to play some record of gratitude to Ed Woodward. There we go. What do we make of that then, gentlemen? He is officially in the building.
Good. Feels right. Right now, right in this second, as it's broken, what does your gut tell you? Take logic out of it. What does your gut say about the appointment?
It says I shouldn't have had that curry last night.
I think you're starting from a real low, Ben, because if you watch last night, you can't get much lower than that.
Yeah.
No, that was as bad as it's been. So if that's as low we can get, the only way's up in it. And look, massive good luck to him. Look, we're all behind him. We all have our ideas who we want and who we didn't, but we all want him to be a massive success of this football club because it's ready to take off. It's ready to lift off, and we need someone to just point us in the right direction. And I want to see us just improve, Ben. Be better coached, you know.
I agree.
It wasn't.
Coaching is what it comes back to. I agree. How many times we said it this season? Coaching. We might have just got one of the best up and comers there is.
And I think Sam makes a great point. If nothing else, owners showed they'll back the manager in terms of personnel and budget. That's got to be attractive for any manager. Yeah. And obviously, January around the corner, you've now got a few weeks to decide. You know, is KVY going to be that flying right back or right wing back he can be? If not, I want a right wing back. And we kind of know from the summer these are owners, and we know from the sacking of Paul Cook, these are owners that are not going to mess about with it. Yes, you're here for 3.5 years, but by this time next year, you want to be knocking on the door of the Championship if you didn't do a miracle this year and got ourselves into it. That's where they want to be. And to get there, I think they know they're sensible people. You know, Burke is obviously a Galatasaray ultra. He knows you're going to have to speculate to accumulate. You have to bring in better players, the right tools. You can't just get a good manager and give him a wind-up power drill. You've got to give him the right
players need to look at themselves tonight in the mirror and think, right, this is not been good enough, what we've been doing. We'll go probably through Caden Jackson's statement in a little bit.
We will. Yeah, that is coming up.
When they turn up for training and when they turn up Saturday for that game, let's just put in a performance, Let's run more. Let's work harder,
Fight for the badge.
Yeah, exactly. All the things that we want to see, hard work. You got to press more. We've got to be better when we're out of possession because at the minute, we're way too easy to play against.
Well, it just goes for me. It's basics. I think we just need to go back to the basics and play, as I said earlier, play players in the rightful positions. Find a formation that suits these current players. Then go with your big plans after that. But we have to just do what we got to do and work with the stuff that we've got at the moment, and then that should see us through, hopefully through to kind of Christmas. And hopefully we'll get a result on Saturday. But these players just got to be got to stand up now and be fucking counted.
Absolutely. You're watching live, Martin.
We have got 358, 328 of
press the like button now.
Otherwise, we'll send Croucher around your house. Croucher? Who the fuck is Croucher?
Croucher.
Sorry, it's all this Christmas eggnog I keep having. George, what do you make of it? Officially announced. George, Earth to George.
Speechless.
There we go. I think that's probably the best contributor we've had since we started the platform. Spoke about the most amount of sense, certainly, than all of us put together. Terry's done the Macarena. Oh, no, sorry. He's had the Macarena stuck in his head since his name was first mentioned. Hey. Sorry, Terry. I thought you were doing the Macarena. Tim, let me think. Come January, we have the next Lee Martin in the house. That's exciting.
I think he's the second youngest ever town manager, Martin.
Who is the youngest?
I think Alf Ramsey.
Well, there you go. He's in good company, isn't he?
So.
It's weird having a manager younger than me. That's very strange.
But he's still older than me, so I'm still young.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Christ.
Result. Tux, is he younger than you?
He's older than me.
He's older
by 5 years.
Yeah. We're still young, look. We are still
How old are you,
young.
Crunch? You're in your 40s yet?
Oh, he's in his
45.
60s. Just great moisturiser. My gut, back to what you said earlier, Ben, my gut is telling me... My gut. Great appointment. I'm getting Brendan Rodgers vibes, Roberto Martinez vibes. I'm getting those type of young, progressive managers that have come from, teams that are higher in the table. I mean, even Blackpool last year, Critchley, I think the name was.
Neil Critchley, Liverpool done the 23s, didn't he?
No
one knew who he was, Martin. No one knew, apart from in Liverpool.
Now he's managing in the Championship. It could, of course, like any appointment can go one or two ways. But my gut just tells me this is a really exciting time to be an Ipswich Town fan, and for the first time, it almost feels like we've woken up and come into the 21st century, into 2021. Football with modern science, with head coaches, not managers, and we've got the Watford link in there as well. I just can't be any happier. Mike, you're smiling. What is going on?
I know, isn't it? It's good, isn't it?
Well, it is if you're smiling. £5 from Kieran Baines. Loving it tonight. We're loving you as well, Kieran. Thank you ever so much. Link, says Ben Moore. Just fucking had to use the one you were given. Mike, what do you make of it? McKenna and Martin.
I think it was either going to go one way or another way. We're either going to get a dinosaur, or we're going to get someone like this in. To be fair, this is something I think this could.
Mike, did they ever get back to you?
Got to be careful not to get overhyped, haven't we? That's the problem.
Mike, did they ever get back to you?
Yeah, they did. He's the experienced coach coming in
alongside. They did. Yeah, they just said that
you missed my super chat, Martin. Where are you? Come on.
I'm making notes.
They said Cruncher was too abusive, and I was just not. I was just overqualified. What can I say?
No, be truthful. They said they had an opening in their under-14s coming up in the next 6 months. They get back to you.
Absolutely.
I've
got to live a dream, haven't I?
Absolutely, because they know what you've done with the Haverhill under 14s in their cup final.
Haverhill.
I don't know. I'm just basically chatting shit, basically.
Yeah, well,
trying to hook you, as they say, but you're not kind of falling for it tonight. You're obviously too happy. You're obviously too happy.
Yeah. Well, look, that's you can't be unhappy with this appointment, can you?
Well,
you know, after last night's shit show, you know, you can't be unhappy. Look, I mean, he's had some good experience, and you know,
£5,
world-class
Stephen Day
managers.
gets in there, son. Back of the net. Anytime we can make the fishermen have to start again. We've got Gary Denny. Yes, Matt, maybe we'll get 10 minutes to spend. That will solve most of our woes. Sam loves Ipswich. Vince Bird says, feels like the last days of the Evans era have been removed. This is right up your street here, Mike. ITFC are back in modern times. Well, once the ground's awash. And Daniel Barnard, as a Man United fan, this bloke will work the players in training and will only put his best team out and won't take shit. Sounds like your cup of tea, this, Mr. Fisherman.
It's what you're asking for, Mike. Exactly what you're asking for, Mike, for a long time.
Absolutely. I think
all his teams are his own. So
look at the coaches he's had around him, you know, and the players he's had around him. You just can't go. You can't look. Surely it can't go wrong, can it? I mean, no. But I tell you what, it's gonna. Tell you what it is gonna do. It's gonna ruffle some feathers in that dressing room, because players like Penny, players like Toto, players like Carroll are all going to be shipped out, because none of them should be in this squad. Toto, for me, last night, and Penny were utter dog shit. I mean, they were the worst of the worst.
You rated him. You rated him in the start of the season, Toto. You said he could play in the championship.
No, hang on. Listen, let's just clarify this, right? I didn't think Toto was a bad defender, and he came in when Wolfenden was having a mare, right? And to be fair, he didn't have bad games. Didn't have too many. He didn't have what I call bad games. But and it was like, okay, right, let's push on. Come on, push on. Prove yourself. And it's just not. It's just gone backwards again, hasn't he? He's just gone downhill. It's like, come on, you know, just. I mean, there's some of them passes last night. They were woeful. Who was he passing to?
What passes? I didn't see any passes.
Honestly, just no, not for me. Look, you know, was he the worst player? Probably, along with Penny. I thought Penny was utter. Carroll, again, no good. Jackson, headless chicken mode came into effect. And that was it, really.
How long will you give this new manager, Mike?
6 minutes.
Oh, gosh, look. He's got the end of the season, regardless, hasn't he? Really, he's got the end of the season.
I'm already bored of him. Want him out?
Quote that. Capture that. 10 seconds.
That's why I asked the question.
No. He's got the end of the season, and he's come in. He's got the January window. I
agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he's got new players to work with. He'll probably get rid of the shambles and bring in, you know. I should imagine he's got some pretty good.
But realistically, who can he actually get rid of between now and January? He can't get rid of a lot, or even the summer, to be honest. Well, because these are all players that have got good wages, good contracts. They're not going to want to go anywhere.
His first test will be what he does with Norwood.
Penny?
Norwood's his first test, as far as I'm concerned, because as of 3 weeks ago, he was out and gone. We all said we'll never see him again, and I believed it. That will be his first test. Now, if that's depending how, because no one really knows why Norwood's out. We've had two completely conflicting arguments as to why that happened. One, Cook wanted him in; he was friendly every day, and with the owners. One was with the owners, and it was Cook who wanted him out. So how he handles Norwood will be a really good indicator of how he handles people in the squad. That is going to be really fascinating.
Good point. Yeah, really good point. His first man management task, if you like.
And what a man management task, because it really divides people, even us. Right, it divides.
He's still on the transfer list, Ben.
Yeah,
I think the psychology part of these. I think the psychology part of football is going to play a huge part with this squad.
Well, they have got a psychologist that I think, don't quote me, that does work with them. If I'm right.
Well, whoever he is, whoever this person is not doing a very good job, is he? Let's be honest. You know, I mean, if they have got a psychologist in there, what the hell is he helping them with?
It's not a great billboard.
You know, one thing we need to find as a team, Mike, And what they all need to do is what they didn't show last night. They all need to grow a backbone.
Well,
because they didn't they haven't been showing it, Martin, for so long, and they've been sulking since Cook got the sack. They've been sulking. They sulked at Charlton because you were there, Tux. They're a little bit better at Wigan, and then last night that was just.
But Crunch, going back to something you said earlier, I know you probably can't even allude to it in a public forum, but you said about Cook. Well, there were some issues behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So was that a players on the Cook side or players rebelling?
No, let's not go there. No,
Nothing to do with players, Ben. I'll talk to you afterwards.
No, I don't want to go there. Mark Downing, can't believe we found someone. I respect the young coach. Take us on. Fair play. I wish him all the best luck. He's going to need it. Jake Smith, keep hold of Norwood. Let go of Enciala, Jackson, Fraser. Let Coulson, bring this in the back and left back. Lewis Mitchell. End of the season. Geez, this guy needs 2+ years to get this going. That's just like turning the Titanic. Transforming this losing culture isn't as easy as Cook proved. I do agree with that in some respect, but there are KPIs that he has to hit. Cook wasn't hitting any of those. So
what KPIs, Martin?
Key performance indicators.
That's a new phrase.
No, it's always been around the world.
Football manager talk.
Basically,
yeah, I know, isn't it? It's football manager talk, isn't it?
No, it's just basically
on Championship manager too long. Log off.
Your KPI crunch would be just flatten the mud for the horses to run on. If it's not flat, we need a conversation.
Right. Easy time.
What? No, I'm trying to make it so you know it's business in your jargon. I mean, imagine.
Does this new manager come in and does he have to get the playoffs at the end of the season?
No, I just want to see progression. I just want to see progression, Mike. In the
you want to see
I'm
KPIs?
asking the question. I'm not saying that's. But do you, as fans, are we still supposed to sit here and say, oh no, well, we got a new manager, he needs a bit of time. Do you know what I mean? And which is rightly and fair point. I get all that, but surely our goal is to try and get into the playoffs, isn't it? This season, still.
Definitely, yeah.
So surely that has to be a minimum requirement, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I've paid for a season ticket. You pay for you go to away games and stuff like that. If someone says then, oh, we're not going for it for this season, we might as well fucking rip it up then, because that shows absolutely no ambition. So, for me, we have to. We're 9 points off it. So, if we do go on some sort of a run, which I don't think we will, because we haven't done in the last since Mick McCarthy. That was the last time I can actually remember us going on any kind of run. So. I look at this squad of players now. Whoever was going to come in charge, I can't see them getting a run of games together to really get us to the playoffs. But that's what we should be. That's what we should be aiming for. It's what these players should be aiming for now. They look at themselves in the mirror and be like, "Look, I want to get to the playoffs. End of the season, I want to be at a Wembley final."
Or die trying.
Absolutely. AD Croucher remembers when people were asking who Arsene Wenger was when he was first appointed as Arsenal manager. The rest is history. Sam. You need harmony and consistency of approach across all levels, owner, CEO, manager, all the way down. If one of them believes in data but the others don't, it goes nowhere. Fair point. Cook's obviously... This is an appointment that's more in tune of what I was wanting out of Cook. Somebody who's more approachable to the modern game, can change game by game. Something that Cook said he would do in the first Q&A.
If there's one immediate advantage, is that the first couple of teams that play us do not know what formation we're going to play.
Yeah.
Even if it only lasts for 2 bloody games and the rest of the season sets itself alight. If Cook would have stayed, then teams playing us in April would have known our formation and who's playing in positions. At least teams are thinking, well, okay, we've got to prepare for Ipswich. We don't actually know what we're preparing for. What are they going to do? That's got to be something, just that, a little bit of wonder.
Well, this new coach brings in a Man United winning mentality, doesn't he?
Can I just ask, with that statement that put out, I can't remember what was said now, but is John McGreal there for Sunderland on Saturday?
Yes, he is. They take charge Monday morning.
Monday he takes charge, yeah.
So get yourself down there, Tux, with a banner. Go on. Crunch can let you know how to make bed sheets, and you can get your.
What am I putting on my banner? Am I putting McKenna out?
I don't know. It's 6 minutes, isn't it? So, Mike, what are we putting on there? McKenna out or playoffs or bust? What are we putting on the banner, Mike?
Playoffs or bust? No, look. At the end of the day,
you've got until April.
There's no reason why in a million years we cannot make the playoffs. People say until this. Look, we all were sitting here wanting Appleton, and all these names are coming forward and stuff like that. Not one of us called this shot. Do you know what I mean? So, in fairness, these players are going to come in. You know, this manager's going to come in with his staff, and they're going to change things. So realistically, there's no reason why we cannot go on a run and cannot make the playoffs at least.
Do you know the last time we won 5 games, Mike, on the bounce?
Cool. 2009.
Mick McCarthy era, wasn't it?
Joe Royal, 2003.
Oh.
So that's what you got to turn around.
Surely not.
Yeah.
No, that is. 4 was under Lambert in 2019.
Well, Mick McCarthy's first season in charge here. When
Never won 5 games on the bounce. Never won 5 games on the bounce, league games.
Really?
Let's do it again.
There you go. Right, Carl Brooks. Minimum requirement is 100% effort. Anything less than the players from now, sack them off. McKenna will play a 4-2-3-1, says Kassan Game 05, and slow side-to-side football. Chris Boyd. Statement says he's not coming in until Monday. Huge opportunity missed to unveil him in front of a full house on Saturday and give everyone some buzz, even if he then goes and sits in the stands. Chris Wright. There are no preconceptions with his appointment. No, he did this at such and such club. Totally new broom and a coach with top-level experience. Robin builds on that and says, the great thing with the new manager, we don't know and can't judge him on past endeavours. Let's give him a go. Forget young age. I'll give him end of season to see some form of progress. Okay. Matty Willis, the good news is Fabrizio Romano just tweeted about Ipswich. We are massive. The bad news is all the Man United fans celebrating him leaving in the comments. Yeah, but most Man United fans don't know where the fucking stadium is, so I'm not going to listen to what they're going to be talking about anything.
Yeah, the main support base is in Western-super-Mare, isn't it? Yeah.
They'll be linking Pogba to us next. McKenna will attend Saturday, but not manage, says Sam Mabry. Ben Bradder, surely if McGill is in charge Saturday, guys, McKenna will still have say in formations, or would that not be the case? Maybe we'll do a Steve McLaren crunch and come down at half time.
I was at that game. We were
lead the revolution.
Fucking unbelievable.
The only thing I'm concerned about, there's a little bit of a concern I'm worried about is that we have the players to play a 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 depending how you look at it, and I'm not so sure that this new manager is going to do that. I think a lot of these new age coaches are very much stigmatized to one style of play. And that does concern me because I think to get out of League One, you do need versatility. You do need the ability to change formations and in-game management.
Well, that was Cook's downfall, wasn't it? He didn't have the plan B or even plan C. So, yeah, you do have to have that plan. So you have to have the plan there. You know, if you're gonna set your stall out against a particular opposition, because you have to plan for each game, but you do have to have the, a plan B or a plan C of some sort.
Anderson, Fisherman doubting already.
I was just thinking that we've not even seen him play yet. He might come out, against bloody Gillingham 3-5-2.
And the reality is, I ask the questions that no one seems to bollocks to answer. At the end of the day, is
because we don't know, Mike. It
doesn't matter, Richard. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether he's not here or not. I'm asking the question because, going on what we've seen in the past.
It's a question that nobody knows the answer to.
They don't. I tell you what, though. Somebody who sat on the platform and said we would get the top 2 and be surprised if we lose another game all season. Stephen Parry, here he is.
Hey, look, at the end of the day, there's no wrong with optimism. Yeah. Well, the top and bottom of it is we can all have a good laugh. I'm quite encouraged about this. You get a lot of people turning around and saying he's inexperienced and things like this. Well, come on, he's been a coach for 13 years. Yeah. Because of his short career, so he's not that inexperienced. He was trained by the same person who trained Gerrard, Singlethorpe. So he knows people and he knows how. He's going down this. He went down the same path as Steven Gerrard did and got trained by the same people. I'm not saying he's the same before people start jumping down my throat, but he had the same progression path. The only difference is he didn't have a career. Well, that was unfortunate. Otherwise, he probably would have done. To me, he's probably more qualified than Terry was, because Terry's not. He's had a career, but he's not coached anyone to any extent.
Totally agree with that.
So if you're arguing the fact, well, John Terry would have been better than this guy, well, no, he wouldn't, because this guy's had much more coaching than what John Terry has. And when you're dealing with players from the coaching side of it, it's easy to say, well, Terry could have commanded him as a player, but he's not a player anymore. When you go from the coaching side, the player side to the coaching side, it's a different dynamic. You can no longer be their mate because you're going to piss them off, and which was my argument with Warnock. There's as many players in this country who hate the balls out of Warnock, as there are that like Warnock, because he's a divisive player. Fans love him, but as players, he divides players because he's nice to some and he's to others. So you've got to strike a balance. And I watched that interview thing that he did, and he tries to come from it because he didn't have much of a career. He tries to come from it from the player's perspective and sees what it is the best thing for the player. And I think that's what our players need. They don't need someone coming in here telling them what they're not good at. They probably know what they're not good at. They want someone to give them a solution and a way around getting better at themselves. And at the end of the day, if he can get better, even if he can just get these 10, 20% better, that's good enough. We will progress. I agree. Yeah. I'm not asking for a Premier League side. If we can get a quarter of a Premier League side, we will romp this fucking league. That's all I'm asking for. Just a little bit of progression. We will, I can see us getting better. We might fall short. I don't think that's a sackable offence because at the end of the day, he's in a worse position now than what Cook was when Cook turned up, took over, and he did get sacked. So if we're looking at it from that perspective, and Cook didn't get sacked, I know you wanted him sacked, Mike, but he didn't get sacked. If he just falls short, if we still end up 12th, there's an argument. But if he gets to like 8th or 9th, there's an argument like we've progressed. Whether we might not think he's progressed far enough, but we've progressed, and we'll take it from there. I think he's going to have this year. I think he'll have the start of next year. So I think he's going to get the January window and probably the summer window. And I don't think it'll be as bad next year because he'll probably had a couple in January and then he'll have summer to add to it. He'll add a few more in summer. And it won't be a big overhaul. So it won't be like 15, 20 coming in. It'll be like 2 or 3 in one window, 4 or 5 in another. And that's not as much of an overhaul as what it was at the beginning of the season. I think that can be managed. And I think that even if we don't make it, which we all want to make it this year, and I'm sure the discussion's been had, try your best. Absolutely. Do everything you can to get up this year. Yeah.
Do you think, Steve? Do you think our minimum requirement is the playoffs still with a new manager?
I don't think it's a sacking requirement if we don't get it, but I think it's something that's on the table. They'll never turn around and say no. While it's mathematically possible, it's got to be mathematically possible. You've got to say yes, we can do it because Charlton. Look at Charlton. They were at the bottom of the league. They changed the manager, and they get 5-6 wins in a row. It's possible.
Why shouldn't it be a requirement though? I don't get why.
I'm not saying it's a requirement to be sacking. I'm saying it's as long as we're progressing and we look like we're going in the right direction. I think we should stick with it and see where this train goes.
We should be look. We should still be aiming for minimum of the playoffs as a club. We can't. We still shouldn't be accepting mediocrity, regardless. Because it seems like there's still a fan base that are accepting mediocrity, and I don't want mediocrity. I want this club out of this league. And in the Championship, back where we float, and then see where we go once we're there. The reality is, look, the new manager needs time. Does he get time? Of course, he gets time. He can't come in and work miracles. And there's going to be a few lows before we get a few highs. I'm hoping we end up with a lot more highs than we did lows.
But I think you misunderstood what I said, Mike.
I
wasn't saying I'm accepting mediocrity. I'm just saying that if we don't get to the playoffs, it's not life and death. Yeah, we've had 20 years of shit. If we don't get to the playoffs in 1 year, it's not life and death. We could argue we should have got to the playoffs last year. We didn't. He didn't get sacked over it. So let's just do the best we can and see where we end up, and then we can make a decision further down the line. Let's not make a decision before he's actually arrived. Because
no. I don't think anybody.
I know, but when you start using terms like minimum requirements, it's like, well, if he doesn't get that, there's a problem.
So what is your minimum? So what is your minimum requirement, Steve? Yeah.
Improvement.
What's that look like?
Well, a higher league position. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even if that's 10th, we look better, playing better.
Don't aim too high, Steve.
I agree with Steve. I think
what can we ask for?
Realistic. I like that.
What can we ask for after last night? Let's be fair.
What's yours, Ben?
Hey?
What's your expectation?
Minimum requirement, never again another Barrow.
Okay, yeah, fair point. All right,
that's
Mike.
About desire.
In answer to your question, Jake Smith says McKenna is known for his versatility. He adapts his team to match, beat the opponent. He assesses other teams and sets them up for that. He plays a mix of 3-5-2.
3-5-2.
Contain yourself, Mike. And 4-2-3-1. There you go. Maybe why we saw a little bit of 3-5-2 second half.
That's what.
Do you know what? That absolutely bodes brilliantly well, doesn't it? I mean, am I excited? Yeah. Look, none of us, like I said, none of us called disappointment. And, you know, if any fan out there that's not happy, then, you know, give your head a wobble, quite frankly. Because, look, you know, but we've just got to keep our feet on the ground and hopefully sort of look at this and think, do you know what?
Yeah.
You know, Paul Cook is the last of the Evans signings, shall we say. So, you know, there's obviously a lot of work gone into this.
From Vince Bird, create an identity. Players know their roles. Manager knows the best 11. I do like that because it's something you really struggle with.
Well, we will know a lot more, when he arrives and he can actually have an interview and he can tell us exactly what he wants to do. We're still like waving around in the fog at the moment. But going on to that point, that's something that I picked up from something that Jim Magilton said, that he's very analytical. He looks at a team and he has a look at the players he's got for that team. He sets out a system for that team and a formation for the next team. So we might end up playing different formations for different teams depending on who we're playing. That's the way he works, and that's what Jim Magilton said. So I don't know whether it's going to be the same formation every single game. We might do that, but that probably depends that he's decided that's the best formation for that team. But he says he's. The
manager needs to find the strengths of our squad and play to our strengths, rather than trying to play to compensate against other teams, because it'll be their job then to try and sort of overcome our strengths.
That can be a weakness as well, Mike, because if you have a settled formation and a settled team, that won't win you every game. That's the reason why he changes formations and players.
I get that. And that's why it's important, like you say, which we hadn't had under Cook, and that was the in-game management, because there was, you know, at least with McGreal did in two times, you know, at Barrow it was clearly not working, and it was a very messy jigsaw puzzle, should we say, of a team that started in a formation, completely lost to what that was all about, and then he switched to 3 at the back and went 3-5-2, and we looked a lot better, if I can actually say that. But
to be fair, we had about 3 or 4 formations in 4 hours of football, didn't we?
No, God, you know, look, I think it's important. I think it's very important that we get behind the manager. I do, honest. We can't. Look, if he loses a couple of games, we can't be sitting there giving him grief. Even me, you know.
Absolutely.
You will be.
I'll be giving the players.
I'll give that, Mike. It kind of goes back to, I remember the podcast we all done when Paul Cook was appointed, and he came on the back of this horrible word. I hate that bloody word, pedigree. Is that the expectations were like we were on a rocket ship to Saturn by that point, and I think now we've had a real kind of hard bump down to earth. And we've kind of got a manager with no expectations, but I think that's going to prepare us better for the obvious bumps in the road ahead. He doesn't come with 6 promotions back to back thinking, right, he's shit with us. He comes with nothing, and I think that gives him a lot of room. I think the Ipswich fan base as a whole, which I think are a sensible fan base, if not a little jaded, myself included, I think they'll give him that space because we don't have expectations. And I'll tell you what, the reason we come on here more pissed off than we're happy is because it's the expectations which kill us. We're a huge club. We should be up there. No, we shouldn't. I think we're kind of in that reality now. And I think the manager matches that reality, that, you know, we don't have anything of parameters for failure. And we don't even have any parameters for success. There's just progress.
Statements though, Ben, running towards adversity. God have mercy on League One.
Yeah, I didn't like it back then. I didn't like it now. But I think that's a lesson they've learned as well. Yeah. Just because they are successful businessmen and they're lovely guys, and I do believe in them, it doesn't mean to say that they don't get things wrong as well. And I think they've looked back and think, oh shit, should have been a bit wiser there. But fair enough. Fair enough.
Human beings, they get excited. I do want, you know, James says here, analytical sounds like something Ashton wants for sure. You can't underestimate the power behind unity and a chief executive and a manager and a head coach and everybody just moving in one. You can't underestimate that. And if this is what has to happen, it's what has to happen. I want to share with you Caden Jackson's tweet from who's put out on Twitter about yesterday's game. Get your thoughts on that. We have got, here it is. Caden is on Twitter. talking about last night's game. Here we go. Let me just go full screen. Last night, one of the lowest points I've had in football, and a million miles away from the standard of football that an Ipswich Town team should be displaying. Despite how poor we were, I felt nothing but support from the fans that sacrificed their time and money to attend. A game almost 6 hours away from home on a cold Wednesday night, and all I can say is thank you to each and every one of you. It's you guys who we need to more for. Need to do more for, I think he means. I'm aware words are cheap, but we'll do our utmost to put this right in the coming weeks. Tux, what did you make of that?
He said it.
I think that I haven't read a single piece of written word that has come out of the club since we lost 3-0 to Wimbledon. I think it was last season, because for too long now I have heard cheap talk and not enough performances on the pitch. You can say what you like from a club interview point of view to a newspaper, whatever, but you do your talking on the pitch, whether it's nice or whether it's bad. For me, as I say, I don't read that stuff anymore because it's all just the same sort of stuff, just coming out of different mouths. So unless I see that on the pitch, I could write that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, unless I see that on the pitch, that's when I start believing it. I don't believe it when it just comes out of the club secretary writing that up. That's not football. That's not showing that. And yes, that is his own tweet. I get that, but where has he been showing that on the pitch then? He didn't show that last night.
Didn't someone shout last night, one of the players, "Don't worry, we'll get it right," or something like that? Like, "Don't worry, lads, we'll get it right. We'll get it right."
I heard, was that Morsey?
Was it Morsey? They said that at the end of last. They said that at the beginning of this season, 10 games. "Don't worry, lads, we'll get it right. We're gonna fix this. Do it."
I spoke to him for about 5 minutes after we waited around, Ben, after the game last night, and he said he apologised and he said, I've in 12 years in football, I've never failed. I'm not going to fail at this club. I'm not going to allow it. And fair enough. Look, he did speak well, but like you say, Tux, it's all right saying these things, and he was genuine when he was talking to us, but you still have to deliver on the football pitch. And like you say, for too long, we've heard words are cheap, innit? Talk is cheap. Yeah. Saturday, I want to see him go out there, Yeah. I think Saturday, we need to realise, right, with what's happening with COVID, if we go into that game, make the most of it, because we might not go to a game for a while, because I think I think it'll shut down soon. So do I. Yeah. I want to go Saturday and I want to enjoy it, but I want to see the players put in a performance. Come on.
Thing is, I think especially with statements like that, we've been so all we got from Marcus Evans was, written statements going, well, this isn't it. And it's been like, that's all we've had. And every time we get like a written statement from a player that seems like, like it's just come out the lottery wheel, you know what I mean? A pre-written thing. Everybody just ignores it and thinks, well, so what? What's new? Yeah. That was expected of you to say that at very least. Yeah. We want a little bit more than that. People aren't paying their hard-earned money, especially at this time of year, to go and watch that and then you apologise afterwards. That's not good enough. That's not why people go. People go because they want to win. They want to at least enjoy themselves. And that was horrible to watch. And I wouldn't deny that, And the top and bottom of it is like, it goes back to all this thing. It's all a new era now. And let's just all see what happens on the pitch. Because I disagree with you in a way, Cook. I think it's a fresh start for everyone. And I'm thinking some of these Paul Cook signings, they don't pull the finger out. He'll say, look, I've got the owners behind my back. Who the fuck have you got? Your man's gone. Yeah.
Great point. I love that.
If you don't perform, you will go in January. Yeah. Stop what you think you are. I've got the owners have got my back. They ain't got yours. You've failed for the last 4 months. They've got my back. If I say you're going, you're bloody well going. And that'll be in January or summer. So they've got to book their ideas up, and he's probably going to turn around to these people and say, look, this is no free fucking ride. This is no gravy boat you're on. You either book your ideas up or bugger off. And we'll get somebody in who will do it. And that goes with those who don't.
And we can afford it as well.
Yeah. It goes to those who don't accept his authority either. If you don't accept his authority as the head honcho, get out. We'll bring somebody else who will. There's plenty of players who want to play football, who want to get paid for playing football. Yeah. who prefer to sit there and say, I'll accept his authority, get rid of him and employ me. And they'll come. There's thousands of them.
Totally
Mark
agree.
Ashton said, didn't he, Martin? Mark Ashton said about standards, and the standards on the pitch have been way below what everyone expects.
Yeah. Oh, they have. Yeah, absolutely they have. But Crunch, Jackson's statement, he didn't have to say anything. He didn't have to tweet anything about last night. He could just, get his head down, not putting it above the parapet. But he stepped forward, shown a bit of leadership.
Fair play to him. Fair play to him. Will he get the chance to show on the pitch? I don't know. It depends with the new manager. I don't know. I was quite surprised that he played him last night when we've got Joe Pigott who needs minutes and he didn't play. But look, fair play to him. Look, I went last night, Martin. No one's forcing me to drive fucking 640 odd miles. I go because I want to go. I go because I love my club. But I go and I expect a lot more than what I see on the pitch. And everyone watching here does.
You don't expect to win. You expect to be entertained.
You what, Ben?
What time did you get back last night?
5:10.
Oh, shit. Were you working today?
No.
Oh.
Good. You don't expect to win, but you at least expect to go and get entertained.
Yeah, but I think it was Mark said earlier, it's like you're watching that game there, it was Barrow, they just rolled us over, didn't they? It was...
Yeah.
It's how you start the game, innit? And then first 15, 20 minutes, you could see the goals coming. And the first goal that Barrow scored, I know it's a good goal from their point of view. From our point of view, it's absolutely fucking shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
I must say, if Edmondson was on that field, I don't think he'd have blocked. I think he'd have blocked that because that's exactly where Edmondson would have been.
But Edmondson played against Charlton and he was shit. So
yeah, but the amount of blocks he's done in that position, this season has been phenomenal. I'm not saying he would. I'm saying there's probably more chance than a small El Mazzuni being there. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it all depends on setup and where people were. There's lots of reasons why we conceded goals. Top and bottom is they didn't play well enough. We were set up wrong, and we had no width whatsoever. So they were getting down there. There was like 2-on-1 down the flanks all the time.
Tactically, we were poor, naive, we were silly. It's almost like we underestimated Barrow, and that's hopefully something you won't get now from the new management team. It's a plan for everybody.
Lambert-esque. That's how
that first half, we looked like the lower League Two side, and they looked like they looked like a promotion-winning side of League One.
Yeah, we looked like everything you hope McKenna will bring in with Pert.
I've got to ask though, why is this now any different than just because a new manager comes in? Why should that now be any different? Why couldn't they have done this under someone like John McGreal? So John McGreal hasn't just come out of nowhere. He is a manager in his own right. He's managed Colchester United, did fairly decently there. He's not just for a season either. It was a couple of seasons. So him coming in and it's only temporary, and the players obviously know that as well. But why couldn't they play for him? Why couldn't they try to impress him? So what I'm sitting here thinking is, I don't see how they can impress McKenna coming in if they can't impress McGreal. That's what worries me.
I think the reason for that is they always knew it was temporary with McGreal. They knew at the end of the day he wasn't the guy they had to impress.
I don't agree with Lee Anderson there. He said it comes down to tactics. We're playing Barrow, Lee, for fuck's sake. They're 19th in League Two, and we didn't show the desire.
Hadn't scored in 6 games.
Commitment. Bollocks to tactics. Get out there on that football pitch. You're pulling that shirt on. Yeah. And fucking work.
Yeah,
but I think
that's the minimum demand to get out there and work, and then everything else should come together if you put a good shift in.
I think regarding Tux's point, though, I think that's the problem with an interim. Everybody, because I had it when I was in bingo management and a temporary came in. Nobody respected him for the sake.
Brilliant.
Nobody respected you because you were off. Yeah, nobody respects the guy when you know. Yeah. I'm glad I brought highlights to everyone's lives. When you know, Santa, shut the fuck.
Better play that like that. That's good.
Oh Christ!
McKenna's laughing. Look, no. What I'm saying is when you know someone's not there forever, you think, well, why should I impress this guy? He's not going to be here. Yeah. They know they've got to impress the next guy.
But these players are playing for their futures, though, aren't they? They're playing for their futures at a big club. It doesn't matter if the manager's only there for literally a day. They should be playing for their futures.
Yeah, that's a fan's mindset and a player's mindset. This isn't the guy we have to impress. It's this guy.
Yeah, but isn't that showing disrespect to McGregor
it's like what Crunch said.
As a manager and as a coach?
It's like what Crunch said earlier. Since that Charlton game, they have knew that there was a new manager somewhere out there watching. So really, they should be playing to the level that they know they can.
I'm not saying it's going to benefit them, but what I'm saying is, some of these were Paul Cook's mates. We know they were Paul Cook's mates. Evans wouldn't get in most people's teams. It wouldn't get in most managers' bloody teams, but it got in Paul Cook's teams. Why? Because he was so far up his ass, it was unreal. He couldn't drop Evans if you tried. That won't happen now because he's got no preconceptions on these players. He's got no dog in the fight whatsoever. He'll pick who he thinks is the best. If he puts a few noses at a joint, tough.
Absolutely.
That's not his problem.
Agreed.
And that's the best thing we've got.
And he comes with a number 2.
Ashley Bell. Ashley Bell
Even though
with
he's
a
from
comment.
Norwich.
Get this one. Impressive that you've got Mike Phelan on the channel already.
Well, you're Mike Phelan. He's bald.
Yes, exactly. Love it. I love it. Look, exciting time for the football club. Let's get a few comments. We've got Chris. Think it's a good appointment. At least it's progressive. Warren says an interesting appointment. One to get excited about. Let's get behind him. ITFC fans, wouldn't it be great to have some instant success? Undoubted coaching talent, but does he have the man management skills? Jason, that's because you had a bunch of clueless teammates around you in Caden. You were running like a headless chicken. Sam Mabry, thank the fans. That's all you can do. Sam Gamo 5. McKenna's level is the best at best is mid-table in the championship.
Great, let's get there then.
Sounds good to me. Is that a promise?
I mean, go back to that comment, right? Really? McKenna's level at best is mid-table champ. How does he bloody know? What a stupid comment. Sorry.
Well, up until the other day, it was like, what? Top 10 of the Premier League? Yeah. As an assistant?
Yeah.
So, can't make assumptions like that.
The brains behind Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Bottom Premier League.
Yeah, he's practically won the Premier League twice.
McKenna's at the wheel. Nathan, surely McKenna will be asking McGrew about the players having that. He's been working with them. That'll be a very short conversation, Nathan. How good are they, Paul? John? Shite. Absolutely.
Just show the Barra video.
Graham says, don't think we can even beat a bingo 11 at the moment. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So are we happy?
Are we happy with them?
We've not got anybody here that's actually not happy, are we?
I don't see there's any reason to be unhappy. I know the league position's not what we wanted, but we've had a massive overhaul of players, and that's not an excuse. I agree, but it was finding that right balance. And now we've got someone in who's not wedded to certain players. We can. This is what I said. Maybe it's what like Mike said. Maybe the squad is too big, and someone needs to come in and say, "Look, these are my 15 players. We'll play them. Sod you lot. Don't care if you're upset. Go away." And we'll play these 15 players, and then say these are my best 15 players and work from that. I don't know, but Paul Cook was so wedded to some of these players, he couldn't drop them even if he wanted to, because he'd put so much investment in Morsey and so much investment in Evans, so much investment in people like that. It was like, well, I have to play these players or I look a fool. He couldn't drop them because otherwise he probably felt himself he failed. So, and in the end, that made him fail. When really, if you'd have used your mindset and said, well, he's not working, is he? So drop him. And I don't think he could. So it takes that outsider to come in and say, well, let's have a look at it from a dispassionate view and say, look, you're like this. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. We'll get a team together playing a certain way. And if you don't fit, if you're not good enough, you won't play. If you're good enough, you'll play. So show me what you can do. And if you're better than this guy, I'll swap you for this guy. It's very simple. Football's always been bloody simple. It's just people try and make it complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Absolutely. He's been on fire. Absolute
fire, man.
He truly has. So does this make a win on Saturday? Final question. More probable? Will these players be performing out of their skins, knowing that the next manager is sat in the stands? Or will it be a simple case of, as Chris Wright says here, the only concern is that it couldn't be done earlier? And we have, with all due respect to him, McGrill managing another game. He clearly isn't a tactical giant. Ben.
Will it make it the win on Saturday was a question.
Yes.
No, not a shit chance in hell, but it might make them win in about 6 weeks' time. And that might be enough long term.
Mike?
Look, who knows? Look right now. Look, anything but a loss. I'll take anything but a loss.
All right, Tux.
Because we need to do something just you know. I mean, look, we got a good result against Wigan, and then we end up looking like amateurs against Barrow. So look, if someone come down, we got 35. They don't want to lose because the fans won't be happy.
Yep, Tux.
No, I think we're going to lose on Saturday. I don't think this team has got any kind of character or any bottle at the moment. So I think that Sunderland are going to come here. They'll be up for it. They'll know that we've got a new manager. They'll know that we might be up for it, that we could put in a performance because of the new manager bounce. But no, I don't think we're going to win at all. If anything, I think we'll probably get 2-0 Sunderland, I think.
Okay, all right. We are live again tomorrow, 8:30
Just
myself.
say one thing. I think I disagree with everyone there. I think
go for it. Go on,
I think they're going to actually try and put a shiv in because they finally now know who it is. Nobody knew who the manager of this club was going to be. Now they know who it is. Now they know who they've got to impress. Now they know who they've got to try and keep the job.
Their jobs and their career on the line.
Exactly.
Really.
Trust me, these lads coming down from the Championship, they fail here. They're not going anywhere further up. They're going to be going further down.
Yeah, good
they
point.
know now. The Morseys, the Chaplains, they know they've got to stay at this club and succeed at this club. Otherwise, the best they're going to get is League One. You know. Yeah. So I think they'll sit there and they'll say, right, this is the guy we've got to impress now. We don't have to impress John McGrail.
Who's to say that Morsey will be the captain?
I don't think he will. I think Edmondson will get it.
Yeah, I do as well. I think I think Edmondson would be my choice. I've said it for a while.
But can you come in as a new manager and change your captain straight away? I don't think you can.
Absolutely, you can.
Of course you can. Texas just got rid of Aubameyang.
He hasn't just come in though, has he? He's been there a while, and there's been some disciplinary issues.
Yeah, but he's not his player, is he? He was Paul Cook's captain and Paul Cook's player. He can do what the hell he wants.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, as soon as you come into the club, if you're then changing your captain, is that not going to put the cat amongst the pigeons, rightly or wrongly?
You don't do it. You don't do it.
You don't do it, do you?
No, I'm saying
it's a little bit like when a player actually comes to the club first and foremost. A bit like when Gareth McCauley came and he was made captain at the very start. He should never have been captain. He actually played better when he didn't have the captain.
Yeah, let me throw an opposite to that. Is that Chambers was captain under about 25 different managers, and he was a big part of that downfall net problem. Just a player that was always there, never out the team, had a hell of a lot of power because he knew he was immovable.
But arguably, there wasn't any other captain material. I don't think there wasn't any captain material.
That is fair. That is fair.
Is that he could? I don't think he will. But will Morsey be playing long term? That's what he's going to have to determine. If Morsey is not a long-term player for him, if he decides you are not my man to play, but Edmondson is, then he will start saying, well, you're not going to play, so I'm playing him, so he's going to be captain. That's a long-term decision. That's not going to be Saturday. It's not going to be next week.
I don't think Edmondson needs the armband to be a leader, personally.
No.
And no, he's never been a captain before, so why don't we just let him play? He's playing well.
You've taken the words out of my mouth.
Added pressure as the armband. Doesn't need to.
Listen, guys, he's got the fans on side. Yeah,
I know, but it might hamper him if he's captain.
He's the only one of few, maybe Janasian, that have got the fans on side. Yeah, who puts in shifts and and I think if I'm honest, fans will back him.
But I agree with that. But the point is, it might hinder him if he's captain. It might change who he is as a person.
I think you just keep the captain who he is. You just got to keep it.
I think it would probably be better if Edmondson just does what he does, what everybody likes already.
And what I would say, but that's you don't know that because you don't see.
Well, of course he is. Oh, come on! No, I'm not having that. Look. We've all stood on here.
You're not there, though. You're not
absolutely hammered Morsey because he hasn't been a leader on the pitch. He hasn't played. He's been absolutely woeful.
His playing form has been woeful, but you can't say he's not a leader of that group when you don't see that group
Yeah.
every
We
day.
see it on the football pitch enough. You can see there's no leadership on that football pitch. We've
Yeah,
been
but-
saying it for ages.
What I was
Even-
going to say was,
Even
if
behind
I'm,
the scenes, he's been critical of the way, because Crunch said he was critical when they went to that little tete-a-tete with the kiddies, that he was critical then about the way they played. So behind the scenes, he's very critical. Just because sometimes you might not see it on the field, it doesn't mean that he's not critical.
but I'm prepared now to wipe the slate clean with the new players, because I believe Paul Cook didn't put them in the best position to succeed. That's why I said I wanted him out after Bolton. So if I'm going to sit here and say new manager, clean slate, he's got X, Y, or Z, it's got to be the same for those new players, such as Sam Morsey. Because
hang on. Even James Norwood, are you wiping the slate clean with him?
I said new players.
No, everybody has to have a
No, you can't. So you can't say
new
that and then just backtrack like that. You've got to say it across. You've got to say it across the board.
Yeah, that is fair.
You know, you can't say that and then look. You know, that's just one rule for you and one rule for everyone else. Yeah.
James. Well, no. James Norwood knows that he has to score goals in the team, and I will publicly say I love him to the day I die.
But
Piggott has to do that.
Piggott has to do that. They all have to do that. That's their job. That is their job. What I would say, actually, seriously now, James Norwood, Caden Jackson, Toto Nsiala, John Nolan, they've gone through multiple managers to form an opinion. Sam Morsey's been here for a cup of coffee and that's it. I now want to see him under a manager that puts him tactically in the best position.
Yeah.
Everything around him is tactically astute. The players are drilled. They know their jobs. Before I say, Sam Morsey, you're a shit leader. Sam Morsey, you're a shit player. Or Joe Piggott, you're a bad forward. Or whatever it may be. Because I believe personally, Paul Cook was that bad. Now, I can't sit here and say Paul Cook was that bad. I want him gone. And then say, oh, yeah, but the players are also, as Crunch would say, shithouses. So it's a clean slate.
I must say, in the youth ranks, he played a lot of 4-3-3. I don't know whether that's because of the players he had, but he did play a lot of 4-3-3.
Gov, I've just had a really interesting text come through. It says that McKenna is sounding out Aaron Drinan as his January signing.
Off. No, no. Right, that's it. I'll be the first. McKenna out.
McKenna out. Bin him off.
Get that bed sheet ready, Crunch. I'm not having that. That is disgusting. Right, we are back tomorrow, 8:30. Myself, Cruncher, and Matt Phillips with more McKenna reaction as we digest it further. Perhaps more stuff comes out as Tuxford just revealed there in the no sources. And of course, we look at John McGreal's always enlightening and exciting press conference with the local media ahead of Pack Out PR. At least it might be positive now. Who knows? But until tomorrow, he has been on fire. He's been the fisherman smiling. That is the milk tray man, Mr. Tux. Look at that. He's putting it back together. He's putting it back together. But until tomorrow, with love, with care.
Cheers, everyone.
See you later.
On a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better.